Welcome to a new episode from Great Grad. Today we are going to continue our topic from last episode, which is we have now a list of potential supervisors to work with them in our graduate studies. And today we are going to discuss 10 different questions you should ask yourself for each supervisor in this list to really decide whether you should go forward and take an action, contact such supervisor or not. So let's start. Question number 1. What is the number of recent publications of the group of this supervisor? Why this question is important? This question is important because it gives you an indication of whether the supervisor is really active in research or not. You should look for number of publications in the last year, in the last 3 years, in the last 5 years. This gives you an idea of the activity of the group of this supervisor during this period. The second question is, where are these publications exactly? Are these publications in a top venue, top tier conference or journal? They have high reputation, or they are in no place. They just get published for doing the job reason, just to get promoted or to do the job. And the distinction between both is very, very important, because if you would like to do good graduate studies, good master's or PhD in a high reputation environment and lab, you should see what are the standards of this lab you want to join. I'm not saying one is bad or wrong, but you need to know to take the correct decision for yourself. The third question is also related to publications. What is the number of citations of this supervisor? And also what is the number of citations of these recent papers from this group? And both are not the same. And this is why. So the number of total citations of the supervisor, it gives you like a bird eye view of the total work of the supervisor in his life. But maybe a supervisor has tons of citations, but this happened to be a long time ago, maybe like 5-10 years ago, or maybe even during his PhD studies. So this doesn't apply for recent works, but also it gives you an indication of the reputation of the supervisor. So you should use this, but again with a grain of salt. The citations of the recent works gives you an idea, and maybe a more accurate idea of how the community of the area that you want to work in is receiving the work from this group. Do people read it? Do people cite it? Do people think it's a good work? And number of citations is a metric that people may agree or disagree with, but at least it gives you an idea that there is the work that has been done with this supervisor, other groups are looking to, and they are reading and they are citing and they're comparing with. That means your work, most probably if you join the group, will be read by other people and people will get to know you. And for the number of citations, you can really use a very useful tool that is called Google Scholar. You just write the name of the supervisor, and if the supervisor has a profile there, it shows you some details about the citations that can answer the two questions we just asked ourselves. The fourth question is, if you look into some of the recent publications of the supervisor, how many authors are in a single paper? Does the paper has 5-10 names on such paper? Or does the paper has only 2 authors, like the student and the supervisor? There is no one correct and wrong way of doing these things, but this gives you an indication of different things that you need to understand. If the paper has large number of names, that means most probably this is a big lab with large number of students, and students work together and they collaborate together. And also maybe the lab is collaborating with other labs, and you'll find names from other groups in the same university or from other universities. So if you are that guy who is looking for collaboration and wide collaboration with other people, this may be the right place. On the other hand, if you see the paper has only 2 names, the student and the supervisor, that means most probably the group is not a big group and they are not collaborating with other groups or other universities. And this is not a good or a bad thing. It's basically an environment of work. So if you prefer to do things on your own and you get the help from your supervisor and you do good work, this maybe that's it, and you are okay with that. But you need to understand the difference. And this is the way to get an indication of the environment of the group if it happens and you join that group. The fifth question is, how many students are currently working with this supervisor or are involved in the group? Why this is important? Again, because this is related to the environment that you are going to work on. For example, if there are a large number of students, maybe you will go there, you will get help from senior students, you will join already established projects, and maybe you work with them in their papers and get a help also in your papers. But on the other hand, maybe if large number of students, the supervisor will not have time to be hands-on with each student, and this may be a disadvantage. So there is a balance here. Again, there is no correct or wrong way. It's just an environment of work that you need to understand to decide whether you should join this group or not, based on your preference. The sixth question is, and this is a particularly very important question, how much time a student takes to graduate from this group. For masters, if you want to join masters, or for PhD, if you want to join PhD. Why this is important? Because it gives you an indication or a metric to know how much time you're going to spend in this group and to know the expectations from you. For example, I know some groups that their students take 7 years to finish their PhD. And if you didn't know such information and you go to that group and you join it after the first year, and then you realize, oh, I have to spend 7 years of my life and my original plan was just like 3-4 years. So you get shocked, right? And some students get to drop their program, especially PhD, because of this reason. So you have to know what are the expectations. The way to get this number of years that a student spends in the group is to look in when the student joined the group, they started publishing things, and when they graduated, because some supervisors put this information in their website. If not, then maybe you find the name of the alumni of this group and you look into their resume to see when they joined and when they finished their degree. So there are multiple ways to find such information. You can even contact the alumni or current students yourself and ask them, because this is a specific question that most probably there are multiple ways to find the answer for. But it's a very important question to know what to expect from this group and to see whether these expectations match your thoughts, matches your preferences or not. The seventh question is, and this is not a single question, it's a collection of questions. You should classify each name you have in your list as whether he is a young or an old professor, whether he is hands-on or involved in the work, or he is just managing the group. And the way to get this information is again from the website and from the available information in the website of the supervisor, the list of publications, or even contacting the graduate students yourself. It's very easy to know whether the supervisor is old or young based on his biography from the website. It's also possible, as we said earlier, to know whether he's active or inactive in research by looking into the recent list of publications, not just the publications. Pay attention to the last 2-3 years to see whether they are active and which areas they are active in, because some supervisors completely change their area. Some supervisors go for sabbatical, or they decide that these coming years, for example, they get a baby and they are not involved in research in the current years. So this all things gives you an indication of the activity of the group. Maybe the thing that is hard to know is whether the supervisor is involved and hands-on in research, or he is just managing the group. The age gives you an indication. Like if he is a young professor, most probably he is engaged. This is not like 100% correct in all cases. I know cases that the supervisors are really young and they are not involved with, they are just managing the group. But the common case is if he's young, then he is involved with. If he's too old, then maybe he's just managing the group because he gets busy with other things over the time. But the real answer for this question is to really talk to the current students or the alumni. If you know some of them, that's good, but if you don't know some of them, just send an email. Fire out an email to one or two of them and ask them if they would have a Skype call, because sometimes students may not give you a written information in an email because maybe they will be afraid of the supervisor, or they will be afraid to really mention what they think. But for a Skype call, they may be more friendly and talk to you. And really this is important to do. It may take you some time, but as you can see, you are investing years of your life, maybe completely changing your life. If you are traveling from another country with your family, for instance, then it may worth to really make sure of what is the environment that you are looking for. The eighth question is in the same line of what is the environment that you should expect, and this is regarding the supervising methodology of the professor. We talked about whether he is managing or hands-on, but there are so many other things. Is he demanding, or maybe he leaves you on your own to find your own way? And both methodologies exist. Some supervisors are like this. They leave you to find your own work. You come up with ideas and you implement them. And some others, they are micromanaging, so they give you ideas. They meet with you maybe 3, 4, 5 times a week, or maybe they meet with you daily. Some of them ask you to work in the weekend, some not. You need to get these things. And supervising methodology is important for you because you will be working, you will be in a relationship with the supervisor for some time, maybe 2 years, maybe 4 or 5 years for a PhD. And this time is worth knowing what you are going to do. The ninth question is this supervisor is looking for students? The 8 questions we covered so far are within your sight. You decide whether to go forward with the supervisor or not. But what if you like the supervisor and he is not really looking for students in the near future? Then all what we have said is really not important because you don't have a chance, right? How to know whether a supervisor has an opportunity for students or not? Some of them really write in their website, which is really good. But some of them may really have opportunities, but they don't write in the website or they don't update the website. And you can know this by multiple things. You can know this by their recent activity, because if they are not recently active, maybe they are not looking for students. You can ask their current graduate students whether their supervisors are looking or not, because supervisors talk to their students, ask them if they have a recommendation for someone. The third thing is you can directly go ahead and email them, and we will come into this email point in a later episode, but this is the right way to know if they didn't write in their university website. Now comes question number 10 and the last question, which is, what is the ranking or the reputation of the university that this supervisor is working in? And I put this question last for a reason, because later maybe we discuss this in more details, but whether you should go to a highly ranked university even if the supervisor is not that good, or you go to maybe a no-name university but the supervisor is really active, doing great work and very well known. Both extreme cases exist. Maybe you don't need to choose between both. Maybe the ideal chance is to go to a highly ranked university with a high reputation professor. That's great. But again, ranking is not really that important, but it's an indication, especially if you're looking for a job or in industry or joining academia afterwards. So the name may play a difference in your future life. And this is why I put it last. Take it into account. We already discussed this in the last episode. You already have the ranking of each university that you have in your list. And to start filtering out supervisors based on different things, maybe one of these things, and the least important thing is the ranking. So assume that now among the list you have two supervisors. They have exactly the same score in all the previous questions, but they differ in one is in a great university, the other one is a no-name university. So maybe the one with highly ranked university is the one that is going to win, right? But you take everything as a whole, not just the ranking as a decision, like most students do. So what I advise you to do based on these 10 questions is to give a rank for each supervisor you have in the list. So for example, you assign each question 1 or 2 or 5 marks based on what you prefer. You don't necessarily need to put the same weight for each question. Some questions may be more important to you than others, like the environment that you're going to work on, or the activity, if you would like to get more publications getting out. So look into your own case and you will be able to make your own judgment. I have no say here. And give each supervisor, based on the collective answers of all the 10 questions, give them a total score. Because having a quantitative metric to decide really which supervisor is ranked over the other, or you'd like to contact this one and not this one, is going to really help you, especially in the next steps towards your application to the university. Thank you so much. By this, we finished our episode today from Great Grad. I shared with you 10 questions you should ask yourself for each potential supervisor to see whether it's really a good chance for you, it meets your preference and expectations or not. See you in another episode from Great Grad. Thank you so much.